Welcome to Sightline. Today in our studio, our guest is Ms. Enkh-Amgalan Tseelei, National Coordinator of Green Gold Project, which is designed to ensure the sustainability of Mongolia's rangeland. Okay, welcome to the studio, Ms. Enkh-Amgalan Tseelei. We really appreciate that you're here.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Okay, so my first question is, Mongolia is well known for its traditional ancient livestock culture, herding culture, which has been sustainable for like thousands of years. But in the recent years, we have been experiencing this dire rate of degradation. And can you tell me what were the main cause of this, and how serious is the issue now?
Yes, that's right. The rangelands actually the biggest form of land use in Mongolia. So we have about 72% of our total land territory used as rangelands. And so traditional nomadic herding way of rangeland management is that's something that Mongolians have been experiencing for many thousands of years. And but unfortunately, as you've told me, that according to the recent research assessment, about 70% of our rangelands are degraded. And but the level of degradation is various around the country. And there are some areas where the rangelands is very much degraded, very heavily degraded, and it cannot recover itself. But there are some sandbags where rangeland degradation is less. But main reason of rangeland degradation is really overstocking. The rangelands have the so-called the carrying capacity, how many animals it can feed. And according to the research findings, our rangelands can feed about 25 million livestock, 5 types like camel, horse, and cattle, sheep, and goats.
But now
in sheep units, in sheep units about 70 million. But now we have about 70 million animals. But in sheep units about 110 million.
I'm sorry, can you explain the sheep unit? Maybe some of our viewers are not familiar with this term.
Okay, so this is kind of traditional way of Mongolians measuring the impact, the forage intake of animals. For example, that one camel eats rangelands that equals about 6 sheep.
6 sheep.
Yes,
oh, okay.
Horses 5, and cattle, and so this is how they have traditionally used to estimate the impact of livestock grazing on rangelands.
You say the main reason for the degradation is overstocking, but I believe that some people, they want to tend to like it when the number of livestock is increasing, and even the government, they reward the successful herders who have got like more than 1,000 herds. And what's your opinion on that?
Yes, there are many reasons why the number of animals is increasing. The one reason, of course, is you've mentioned that governments have a policy to support those herders if they increase the number of livestock. But I think it's quite not a smart policy, because given the fact that rangeland degradation is increasing, but also that traditionally herders like to keep more animals. It's kind of pride, like if they have more horses, if they have more animals, they would like to show off and so on. But at the same time that the wider number of animals are increasing because there is no policy to increase the productivity per head of the animal. Because rangelands are free and it's free resources, that herders tend to increase the income while increasing the number of livestock instead of increasing productivity, increasing the income per head of the animal. But also, I must say that there are also other reasons. For example, that why number of goats has increased. Now we have 20 million goats versus that we used to have only some 6 million and so on. Because the Kashmir price is very high and there is no price depreciation on the quality, and you just produce average quality Kashmir and you earn the same amount, the same price if there is a policy to support high quality Kashmir versus low quality Kashmir, that herders would, of course, then they tend to increase the productivity and quality versus quantity. So there are many reasons. I would say in brief, there is also policy, not the right policy, and at the same time that there is no economic incentive for herders to improve productivity and instead of increasing the number of livestock.
So just in my opinion, people tend to like to have as many animals as possible, because in Mongolia we have got this harsh climate and we have got like this very difficult time of dzud. So if one dzud happens heavily, then many herders can lose their animals. So they want to keep as many as animals in case they lose some of them.
Yeah, actually it's the other way around. If you have very harsh climate, it's better to keep high productive and fewer number of animals. If, for example, rangeland degradation is increasing, there is not enough rangelands to feed the animals. So when animals are don't have enough forage, and if they always go malnutrition, not well fed, that animals grow weaker and they also vulnerable to the disease, and that's also one of the reasons why we have loss of animals almost every winter. And I think it has to do really the mindset of herders. As you said, that they said, oh, if I have 1,000 animals, if there is a zoot, I would lose maybe half of it and I will leave with half. But there are some initiatives as well now. Instead of keeping more livestock, and you can keep also more savings in the bank. So better sell some animal products when it's the income is higher, and save it in the bank. And having more animals is also risky. And I must say that now herders' attitudes are changing. So they have been experiencing hardship especially in the past 15 years, and now I would say they're learning and growing, and also learning from the mistakes.
Okay, so you said that in the past 15 years, changes have been happening. So I believe that you're referring to your Green Gold project, which has been implementing since 2005, and it is designed to implement the sustainable pasture use, rangeland use, right? So how successful do you think that your project have been so far?
Yes, the project has actually started in 2004, so it's 15 years, almost more than 16 years. So we have implemented this project in four phases. Why the Swiss government has started this project in Mongolia is, you remember that in early 2000 we had the heaviest zoot, and during this zoot that has continued almost 2 winters, the Mongolian herders have lost about 14 million animals. Many herders have lost the source of income, the livestock. So this was the humanitarian aid project from the Swiss government to help the herders who have lost the livestock. But while we were implementing the project, that the researchers who were in the project, they have identified that this zoot will happen sometime in the future, and we have to address the main causes why the zoot is happening. And one of the main causes, of course, that the malnutrition. The animals are not having enough forage from the rangelands, which are degrading very fast. And when we wanted to understand why rangeland is degrading, there was no research data, what is really degradation, how it happens, whether it's possible to prevent from the degradation. So we embarked on almost like 10 years of research project to identify the different level of degradation, and also identify the way, the tools, the means to prevent from degradation. So I must say that, just to put in a nutshell, that we have used a lot of evidence for herders, how they can prevent from rangeland degradation, how they can improve the productivity of livestock so that they can keep lesser number of animals but then earn the same amount of income. And also that we have developed tool how to improve responsibility of the herders. So after 15 years, when I look back, what we have really achieved in tangible ways, that we have actually saved 5 million hectares of land, rangelands, out of degradation. So I think this would be the main achievement. So we have not only find out how the rangelands degraded, but we also communicated this knowledge to the herders and local stakeholders so that they can use it.
Okay. So what challenges have you faced when running your project? And so I believe that there have been like some conflict between the government or the herders.
Yeah, I must say that one of the biggest challenge was that the policy of the government was not very clear. And even up to now, I must say that although rangelands degradation is fast and growing and expanding, we don't have really a clear policy. How do we going to address it? And so that I must say that one of the biggest challenge, really, there is no clear government guideline or guidance. How do we do that? But that's why we have to go back to the field and work with the herders. And we, together with herders and local government, we have found a way how to do it. And we have used these evidences also to communicate to government to how that we have to improve, we have to change the policy towards the rangeland degradation. That, I must say, the biggest challenge. But at the same time, I would like also to say that our herders, the good thing about our herders, that they really love their homeland, and this kind of passion to save, to really keep this land for the future generation was really the biggest leverage that we have achieve this result.
I want to congratulate on the fact that you saved 5 million hectares from degradation. And also, I want to talk about like what actions did you implement to influence those people like this result?
So first that we have to really improve the rotation grazing system. One of the main reasons there were like concentration of livestock in certain areas because many rangelands have already degraded and there is nowhere to move. So we have in a way provided an opportunity for herders to discuss and negotiate so that they can start reintroducing the rotation grazing system. You know that Mongolian herders, for example, in certain areas, they move about 12 times a year. They move once every month to really let their rangelands to recover. So first thing that we have done is just to improve the rotation grazing system. That instead of sitting in one place 2 months, they have to move out when there is a sign of rangeland degradation. So they would have more intensive rotation grazing system instead of just having 4. But I also would like to quote to the fact that there is a research findings used all over the world that when you graze animals, you have to leave the 50% to the land. Only you have to let the animals to take the 50% of grass that on top of the soil. So in our case, because the herders were sitting and using the one rangelands for a long period of time, they were basically eating up all the plants on top of the soil. That was actually one of the biggest, I would say that was the main tool that we have used to let these rangelands to recover, and then this has actually resulted in saving 5 million hectares from the complete desertification.
How many millions of, how many hectares of land has completely degraded that has no chance to regenerate itself?
Yeah, we have actually supported 2 main agencies, the Agency of Land Affairs, Geodesy and Cartography, and also the Agency of Meteorology and Environmental Monitoring to make this periodic rangeland health assessment. The first national rangeland health assessment was done in 2015, and when we completed the report, according to research findings, about 7% of our rangelands have converted into desert. And we have done the same research in 2018. Within 3 years, this amount of land has completely desertified, has increased by doubled, which means now 13%. If you put in the number, it's quite about 60,000 hectares of rangelands have completely been desertified. But Mongolia has a huge territory, but there are some countries which has a small, very small land. It's almost like, if you put it in other countries' context, almost like half of the country is desertified. So my worry is that it's not only about desertification, but it's going very fast.
Mongolia has got this vast territory, but other places that has got like smaller territory, they have got more yielding use of the land. So do you say that Mongolia, just because of the arid climate, the Mongolia is producing like much less grass than other countries?
Yeah. But our rangeland productivity is very low. It's just that we are endowed with this kind of environment. So we have only rainfall is about 350 millimeters a year. In many other countries, like our neighbor in China, they have 1,500, in Russia and so on. This is our natural capacity to really have such a low productivity. But at the same time, that I must say that although our rangelands has very low productivity, but nutrition, the plants that are basically wild plants they are much more nutritious than the forage planted areas. So, but I must say that this traditional nomadic way of using the land, according to researchers, is the most sustainable way of using such an arid, semi-arid, very fragile ecosystem of our country. So, but if you look at from the economic perspective, because some people believe that if you only have intensive farming, we could have more income. But if you look at from the market perspective, now because of the climate change, because of all the health reasons, that consumers more and more in favor of organic, naturally produced, clean products. So, if we have lesser number of animals, but within the carrying capacity of rangelands, we could produce high quality and high valued products, and we could still earn the same income. So we just have to organize in a way that what is our comparative advantage? We have such a big land, low productivity, but natural grassland. So we just have to manage it in a way that is more sustainable in the longer run.
I agree on what you're saying about using our land is the traditional way, but To look at the data of this desertification rates, it has been 7% in 2015, but it has doubled, almost doubled in just 3 years. I also saw one video and a report that has been posted by the Facebook page of your Green Gold project, and it says that Mongolia is facing a threat of desertification. And how likely is this to happen?
Yes, number of animals increasing uncontrollably. So if you look at the statistic database, that last year we had about 68 million, this year more than 70 million. So it means that if number of animals are increasing, so this 13% degraded, then if we make the same research in 2021, there's most likely that the amount of land is completely desertified, who has lost the regeneration capacity will also increase. So unless we really address this overstocking, the increasing number of livestock in a very short time and very urgently, we may lose like half of our territory into desertification. So desertification has also other effects. So because when the plants that are protecting the soil is washed out, or if it's completely eaten up, then the soil, the productive part, topsoil of the land is also, they become very vulnerable to the wind erosion, water erosion. This rangeland degradation, desertification has not only effect on the livestock herding, but also on tourism industry. International tourists, why they like to come to Mongolia? They come here to see our steppe, the open grass, open rangelands, the wildlife and so on. They're not come here to see the modern world. So it has this rangeland degradation has effect not only the livestock herding, but in many other sectors.
So we've been talking about why is it important to focus on quality over quantity, but also I believe that it's because of the number of herders. So 40% of the workforce is now working as a herder. If we have fewer herders, and will it have a positive impact?
Certainly. When you look at back in 2019, we had about 90,000 herder households, and now we have about 180. So number of herders also doubled. This is also main reason why the number of animals increasing. But if you look at the structure of the herd, there are many herders who has only some about 300, 200 animals, and they also would like to increase to in the number of livestock in order to increase income. So that would be really a disaster. So one way of course, as you've mentioned, that one way of reducing livestock number is that we have to reduce the number of herder households, and we have to find alternative employment like tourism or many other sectors. So I think that this value-added production, processing industry of livestock raw materials has huge potential. And for example, that cashmere industry, wool processing, and leather, skin, and milk processing. But if you look at our domestic industry, the agro-processing industry, it's not really it's not well developed. So we have such a good quality raw material. We have to produce final products and also create an income for those people who doesn't like to herd and who are living in Enkh-Amgalan home centers. Many young people, they just become herders because there is no other option. So I think this is the biggest challenge we have to address in the coming years.
Unfortunately, our time is coming to an end. What final message do you want to share with our viewers?
I'd like to really tell to the viewers, and especially the policymakers, that rangeland degradation is really expanding. It's increasing very high rate. So we have to now we have to develop policy to address this rangeland degradation. We have to identify what are the possible means, and we need to develop policy. We have to find incentive for herders, legal or economic, to reduce livestock number, and also instead of increasing livestock number, but focus more on productivity and increase the income per head of the animal. But I believe that I'm very optimistic about that we will find the right way, because our herders becoming very knowledgeable, intelligent. They love their homeland, and nobody wants to see their homeland being completely turned into desert. So I think we will find a way to address this.
Thank you, Enkh-Amgalan, for coming here to talk about this serious topic.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
This was Sightline's weekly interview. I'm your host, Diane Delgado, and our guest was Ms. Enkh-Amgalan Tseelei, coordinator of Green Gold Project. We talked about the issues and threats that animal husbandry sector is facing, and also the ways to maintain sustainable rangeland management. Thank you for tuning in.